give the community the chance to talk about their experiences, what works, what doesn't work, what could we improve.
This is really a great tool to explore.
Hello everyone, I'm Satyajit. Along with Preet, we are going to be the host for today's Safe Thursday. Now, welcome to yet another session. Safe Thursday, some of you who might have joined for the first time, it's a community that we started in 2020 to discuss anything and everything about SAFE. So SAFE is a place where you can discuss anything and everything related to scaled Agile framework. And we started in 2020 in May, and then we have hosted more than 30 events. And in our classes, people usually check about what is the tool enterprises use to have effective PI planning, to have effective SAFE implementation. So we often get we often get this question. Now that's why we thought we will start a series called Cool Tools. We are starting with piplanning.io. This is one of the such cool tools to manage SAFE implementation in bigger enterprises. And we have Silvio, product head for Remtouch, a Swiss company building the piplanning.io app. So over to you, Silvio. You'd like to start a round of intro of yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm honored to be the first speaker at your Cool Tools series. I will talk about piplanning.io. So thanks for having me here. My name is Silvio, and I work as head of product at Remtouch. Remtouch is a Swiss-based enterprise SaaS company developing solutions for Agile teams that are geared towards e-collaboration. Our main product, it was already mentioned, is piplanning.io. piplanning.io offers real-time synced boards that are always in sync across locations and which are very easy to use. And that's what our customers also love about piplanning.io and why the biggest lean agile organizations in the world, you see some of them here, General Dynamics, Dell, Chevron, Renault, to name a few, not only love piplanning.io, but also trust in us and in what we do. We have always developed the product based on the experience of our customers, and we still do. I must say, I'm also proud on that, how we deal with customer insights, how we closely collaborate with our customers. Now, strictly following that feedback and the development approach, we have learned one thing above all, looking at it from a collaboration perspective, considering complexity and interaction between people, there is no Agile event or ceremony that can be even closely compared to PI planning event itself. So why is that? If you're thinking about events where 10 or maybe 12 people work together, you cannot compare it with PI planning where 120 people and more participating people can interact at the same time and that they can focus on their plan and the conversations which lead to your arts alignment finally and your commonly agreed plan. So what we need is to keep the distraction as low as possible, especially in remote PI planning, but also during PI execution, I would say. We can't use kind of clunky tools for PI planning where this is just an example how it looks sometimes when I'm in calls with interested companies. They simply don't have single source of truth. They don't have real-time synced boards, which means if I move a dependency on my team board to iteration 4, does it also move on the program board to iteration 4? If no, that's a problem because you get a lot of wasted time figuring out, is our plan still valid? Is it going to work? Is it feasible? And that's what I want to talk about today. Presenting my short agenda, piplanning.io, I want to give you a quick walkthrough about the tool, but I also want to provide some, I call them RTE hacks. Independent of the tool, these are 3 learnings I want to share. You can apply also whatever tool you're using at the moment. And finally, I also want to provide some learnings as head of product, some learnings for POs and PMs I think are important also in relation to PI planning events, to where we are actually playing as a team, as an art, and as an organization. Where do we play? Of course, we know it's about the Scaled Agile framework. We all know the big picture. That's also somehow guiding us. And from the beginning, we started with PA Planning.io around 5 years ago already. Maybe the MVP was even older. And with the Scaled Agile framework in the background, we're able to build up a strong community. We call it RTE Circle. It's one of our initiatives where we, every 2 months, talk about the role of an RTE. We always have a presenter. So we want to share our learnings from a tool perspective, but we also want to give the community the chance to talk about their experiences, give our customers the chance to talk with each other, what works, what doesn't work, what could we improve. And that's, from my perspective as head of product, very important, because that's where I get the learnings from, the insights on how to improve the tool. And yeah, the tool then, of course, is what I just want to show right now. So this is obviously a team board where we as Team X-Men are going to break down our features, to plan user stories, to plan enablers, to talk about bugs and whatever. I mean, you know what you're going to do in a team breakout session. I want to go through 5 parts. First, give a general overview about the tool. Then, how does feature breakdown work? How do we allow to handle dependencies? And then I want to talk about these 3 RTE facilitation hacks, or I would call them my major learnings I did the past 2-3 years. So that's a team board. We provide different purpose-related boards for an art. So the idea is every art is having kind of a session which is covering the whole PI, starting with the PI planning, but it actually covers the whole PI. And with that PI session, we get different boards, such as the program backlog board, such as the well-known program board. I think this is pretty fast recognizable what it is. We also provide a risk board. And in addition, we provide some other boards we call collaboration canvases, where you can do, for instance, a quick and easy confidence vote, where you can run, let's say, an inspect and adapt workshop, a retrospective with your team, doing kind of a brainstorming, doing a user story map, and these kind of things. So what we do is basically provide purpose-driven boards, having the ability to add sticky notes on it. So let's imagine we're going into PA planning and we have our backlog ready, which means we prepared our features, we prepared our enablers, maybe in a tool such as Jira. You can see that on the sticky here, we actually have an ID on that sticky. I'm doing it with Jira today because it's the most used tool, at least what I can tell. But we're also providing a real-time integration with Azure DevOps and with Rally and with other tools. What does it mean? If I click on that link, I'm directly going into Jira. So that's obviously a feature we prepared for that planning. And we can tell what features and enablers are relevant for that PI planning. So we bring in these features and enablers. So now let's assume we are going to plan these features, stickers on stickies. I assign that feature to my team, X-Men. That will bring that feature on the program board to this column in planning. And now I don't need to, but I can also bring it on my team board. There we go. We have it on the team board. And now we actually start breaking down the feature into user stories and tasks and whatever you have in place. So new user story, we can provide some story points. Let's create another one. Let's create a task with also story points. And you see instantly what happens. And that's a major value and benefit for the teams using PIplanning.io. If you have connected the boards with your ALM tool like Jira, you don't need to care about how do we bring back our plan back to Jira. It's done automatically. So if I open that user story, let's first link it to the feature. If I now go to Jira for that one user story, we instantly see text is synced. We have the synced sprint, and we also have the synced link to the feature. So as soon as we have that session prepared, we can start planning on the board, we can break down, we can use this easy and lightweight board to just trigger our plan or just creating our plan, breaking down features into user stories and tasks. That's probably the most common use case in a planning, going into the breakout session and then create a plan. We also have areas for objectives and risks. I don't want to go into too much detail on there, but we also cover that part. What I want to talk about is the dependency handling. So let's assume we figure out we have a dependency related to that feature, stickers on stickies. So I create a dependency. We need to collaborate on stickers on stickies. And the dependency sticky is special because we can share that dependency sticky with another team. So we can trigger the conversation we need to do during the planning, let's say with Team Hulk. So we know that's the team which is going to support us on implementing this feature. And we get a red flag, and instantly this other team, Team Hulk, will get that dependency on their board as well. I make it bigger. So they instantly see that Team X-Men actually asked us to start a conversation about a dependency. It doesn't mean that this dependency is solved, but it means we have now both teams aware that there's a dependency we should talk about. So what then happens is they might join a common call, they talk about it, and Team Hulk will probably come up with some user stories to solve the dependency. They also plan, they put it into their plan. They can also give story points. They can also link it to this other feature if they want, to the feature which is owned by Team X-Men. It's the stickers on stickies feature. They can simply link it. And it's also directly synced to Jira. So I don't need to care about how do we bring that stuff back into Jira or Azure DevOps. It's done automatically. And finally, if we agreed on a plan, in that case, Hulk says, well, we are able to solve that dependency in iteration 2 of my PI. I'm going to bring that on the program board. There we go. We need to collaborate on stickers on stickies. And finally, we simply, as we would do on a physical board, we take the code and we map the dependency with the feature, remove the flag. That's how the dependency handling process works. Now, quick addition. What if we have a solution train in place? What if we plan with multiple release trains? For that, I quickly go into a session where I'm having a solution train planning together. 2 arts, Marvel art and Disney art. Same teams here, X-Men, it's empty boards, or I just have a feature. But what you can do in that case, you can invite all involved arts. And for the dependency, it means that you can not only share that dependency to the teams in your art, but you can now share that dependency across arts. So you can share that dependency to Disney art, let's say to Lion King. And I see, okay, this is the dependency between X-Men and Lion King. What happens to the Lion King board, which is on another art? They got that dependency. Same approach here. We want to trigger that conversation as soon as possible, or make both teams aware that they must talk with each other and get aligned. And the good thing about this, and that's a big difference to many other tools, if I now going to solve that dependency, I bring it on my program board on the Disney art, so it will also be on the program board. What if we move that sticky into another iteration? Let's say we move it to iteration 5. On the team board, it's moved to iteration 5. We don't create a chaos because the boards themselves are also real-time synchronized. And the same will happen for the other art, which is Marvel and X-Men. We will have the dependency in iteration 5. So with that, I don't risk that I come up with dependencies, copy these stickies to another board and again to another board. And technically these stickies are separate objects. In our case, this dependency is technically the same object, just visualized on multiple boards. That's the dependency handling across arts. And now I'd like to talk quickly about some facilitation hacks for an RTE, which you should also be able to use with other tools. They are really general. One facilitation hack is what I call, let's quickly go on to the program board. I also added them here, facilitation hacks. There we go. One facilitation hack I call reduce cognitive load and use purpose-driven digital boards. It's important that when 100 people join together a call and do a planning, that the tool should not be the focus. The plan should be the focus, and the conversations should be the focus for those participants involved. So make sure that you provide easy to use boards, as simple as possible, a sticky note, some text, maybe a link, and do agree on color coding. I didn't show one part of PAplanning.io, which is what we call RTE cockpit. And we intentionally separated the administrator part and the actual collaboration part of the tool, because we think if we are going into a planning, a user story should always be green. No matter what team board I join, if I see a green sticky, everyone knows green sticky is user story, or the dependency is purple, or the risk is red. Well, that makes sense. But I often saw boards where the first question was, what color does a user story have on your board? And that's complete waste of time. You should always do some working agreements together as an art, but also as a solution train if you have multiple arts working together, and agree on a color coding. That's also the place, the RTE cockpit, where you actually map the PAplanning.io sticky type with, in that case, the Jira issue type. So I can actually map to the issue types I have in Jira. So with that, having a clear working agreement, RTE facilitation hacks are used on the program board. They are purple, user stories are green, features are blue. You reduce cognitive load. People can fully focus on what they should focus on, namely creating a commonly agreed and aligned plan. The next facilitation hack is triggering the right conversations at the right time. Also goes together with working agreements. Maybe some of you have experienced on-site co-located PI plannings. I did, it was nice. And there is one key difference to a remote planning or to a planning where you plan together, but in multiple hubs. The difference is in a co-located planning, I always see what the people are doing at the moment. I see that a team is focused on a plan, on breaking down a feature, and I, as product manager, know it's probably not the right time to disturb them, so I'm waiting. If I'm in a remote planning, I don't see what the team is currently doing. Is it the right time to join that conversation, or should I wait? And what if they actually have a question, but I don't know it? So that means you must actually turn that around, that the team or the person who is asking something or needs support, they should trigger the conversation. I give you one example using, or what I saw customers using PAPlanning.io. You could use what we call stickers. We saw one already, the red flag, which is visualizing that this dependency. But you could agree that a blue question mark, or let's say an orange question mark, indicates that that team has a question for the product manager. So if I, as a product manager, join the program board, I could simply look for the orange question marks. And what I get is an agenda of my next 20 minutes. So I look at this feature. Okay, there's a question. Who does have the question? Ghostwriters do have the question. So now I could write to the Scrum Master of Ghostwriters and ask, hey, I see you guys have a question. When would be a good time to join you? Or I can just join the call and see if they are ready for having that question answered. And that's how I can easily, no matter how many stickies are on that program board, how many features and dependencies, I can easily join the right conversations at the right time. And that does work for all the roles. I now did the example with the product manager, but you could also use a sticker or stickers or a color, which is for the RTE, or a sticker or a sticky type, which are for the management team. I did such an example here as well. Management question. So what I did, I configured a couple of specific sticky types, such as the management question. And with that, I want to trigger my management team. We need Paul during sprint 2. What are we going to do? Is that possible? Can we get Paul? Or how do we need to shift our plan? So you could either use like stickers, or you could use specific sticky types, specific colors. But make sure, no matter what tool you use, that you agree on a working agreement for these kind of conversations. And the last hack I want to say is the program board. For you as an RT, it's your best friend. I see so many times that after the planning, the program board is not used anymore. And that's, I would say, that doesn't make sense at all to me, because it's all your work, not all, but a lot of work you did during this 2 days or 3 days PI planning. So use that board also during PI execution. You have the plan on it. Like you see what are the delivery dates of features, where do you have dependencies. You can use this program board for Scrum of Scrums and PO syncs. That might be obvious for you, great, but I saw that many times that the program board is not used anymore. So you should use that so you can talk about what happens if we need to shift that dependency. Oh, maybe that feature delivery date is in danger then. Or you could use a special sticky type. I do this here. A special sticky type, which is called Scrum of Scrum topic. And create your Scrum of Scrum agenda using the program board. We need to talk about what happens when we move this feature to sprint 4. Does that impact one of our milestones? Does that impact a dependency to another team? Or do we need to talk with a major stakeholder? The program board as a visual tool is really helpful, really valuable. So these are the 3 facilitation hacks I quickly wanted to share. Of course, I also showed a couple of things in the tool as well. And now I also want to share my learnings from a product owner, product manager perspective, which has 2 goals. On one hand, I hope that you might take a few things out of it for you, for your product managers, for your products. But on the other hand, I will also present where are we heading towards with PAPlanning.io. So it's kind of what can customers expect in the future. All right, should be there, learnings for PO and PM. And the question, how are we going to win? And why did I decide to bring up that topic? I often get involved in conversations where people arguing a lot about what practices work best. Should we do Kanban? Should we do Scrum? What works best? What doesn't work? And for me, oftentimes the teams and arts forget about why they're actually there. There's a product, there are customers, there's a company vision, there's a product vision for which we want to create a plan and then execute on that plan. For me, learnings regarding product perspective or as a product owner and product manager, first, we need to understand what users really need. We need to communicate clearly to customers, but also to our teams, to our arts, why it matters what we do, where are we heading next. And so that's actually the question about the roadmap, in other words, and also the question how we play. We will see what that means in our case at Remtouch. This is another visual for me. Of course, there's always or should always be a purpose, a vision, a North Star, how it's also called. And around that, you have three major topics: customer insight, strategy, and execution. Customer insight should answer the question what users really need. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm very proud that from the start, I would say 99% of the functionalities we built in were actually mentioned or asked for by customers. Some of them we even designed together with customers. And I highly recommend do that as well, whatever product you're delivering. Whether it is hardware or software or a service, it doesn't matter. Really be aware what your customers really need. One tool could be the opportunity solution tree. I don't know if some of you already know that. I'm very impressed by the work of Teresa Torres, that's her name. What she basically says is don't think too much in solutions. Think about the needs and also listen between the lines what customers say. And based on that, you should figure out what are the desired outcomes and what are the opportunities along that way for the customers, but at the same time also for you as a company or as a product team. I also added the link and I will share that slides afterwards as well. Strategy, so as soon as we know our customers, and that's a continuous thing, right? That's a day-to-day job. We should think about, well, what's our strategy? Why does it actually matter what we do? And one of the tools we often use is the Lean Canvas. I'm pretty sure you heard about Ash Moria. Running Lean is the book, and Scaling Lean are the books he wrote. It's not covering everything related to a product and a company and a release train and solution train, but it covers three main aspects. And actually everyone in a team developing a product should be able to sketch such a Lean Canvas. Who is our customer? What is our customer segment? And then related to the product, what are the problems we actually solve? What is the solution we develop to solve these problems? What are the metrics? How are we going to measure success? And also the third aspect, what is actually the market we are in? So competitors, what are they doing great? What could we actually learn from them? Where could we maybe collaborate with some of our competitors? Also a question. I always think this is a good start for every product team, also for every program. What we came out is this, heavily customer focused now, because these are kind of the high level needs. Weak to non-existent visual collaboration and alignment in remote ceremonies on team level, but also across the whole Lean enterprise. The second need we discovered was that oftentimes people on multiple levels do not have aggregated information based on their visual collaboration to actually take the right decisions. And the third need is related to having a single source of truth on pen and paper like boards. So no 1,000 columns and 1,000 line Excel sheets, but really as you would walk into an office, having different flip charts, having whiteboards, and based on that information, get the single source of truth. I did the same. That's also ongoing work. It's not finished. It's probably never finished. Ask yourself as a product team, where do you stand? What did you achieve? And in our case, PAPlanning.io, we were highly focusing on 2 levels. I call it levels: team level, art level, solution level. So we were highly focused on 2 levels, and we focused mainly on 3 domains. And domains to me, and you can apply that to every product. Every product does serve a customer need. So where does that customer play? What do they need to achieve using your product or using your service? That could also be applied for a training company. In our case, I figured out there's the whole planning, the plan domain, PI planning, I mean, the name is in it. There's a collaboration domain and the facilitation domain, where we should provide a tool which allows RTEs and Scrum Masters to facilitate such an event as effective as possible. That's kind of what we are in these levels across domains. We implemented a couple of nice functionalities like the program board, like a timer, like stickers on sticky notes, team boards, and a very crucial part is the real-time integration to ALM tools. But that's not enough. Then, based on the needs, on the desired outcomes and opportunities you discover with your customers, I actually extended that view. I said we are also playing in other domains. We are playing in the product management and forecasting domain. And we also need to make execution and tracking as effective as possible for our customers. And of course, also the portfolio level, value stream management, it will be important to cover for us with PAPlanning.io. So that's kind of the strategic orientation. There's a horizontal way to move forward and a vertical way to move forward from team level up to portfolio level. And along that way, we want to cover specific needs customers have. That's kind of the big picture. And now the execution. That's what you hear often. What's next? What should we do next? And why? What's the value we provide? So first question is, what is value? I'm still searching, to be honest, for a good answer to that question. But what I learned is there's probably not a trivial answer or an easy answer. For me, it always depends where you as a product team are, where the company is, how large it is, where the product is, what the competition is doing. So there are multiple factors you should consider figuring out what's the next highest valuable thing you want to develop and provide to your customers. Business value, does it also provide value for our business? What is the operational cost? Do we have the needed skills? Do we need training? Is it aligned with our strategy and all these questions? These should be considered. And based on that, we, in our case, PAPlanning.io, decided to focus at the moment. So this is the roadmap. It's kind of a special roadmap, I know, for the next 3 to 5 months. We want to improve our team level in the plan domain. And we want to introduce a couple of new functionalities across 3 levels on the execute and track domain, which means reports in general, progress reports, capacity allocation reports, maybe a dependency dashboard, these kind of things. So we want to dive into that. And regarding the collaborate and facilitate domains, we figured out some nice low-hanging fruits where we might invest some time in it as well. And from there, we want to go horizontal and upwards up to the portfolio level. It's kind of a different way how to visualize a roadmap, not this standard Gantt charts and everyone knows, oh, that's anyway not going to happen. So we are trying different other approaches. Which brings me to the last point regarding learnings for product owners and product managers, but this one is also learning for a whole release train. There are a lot of discussions around practices, also around tools, and what works best for us. And then oftentimes the discussions don't really lead to a satisfying result. I often feel that in our discussions, but I also saw that in calls and experienced that in calls with customers. And it's always the question on how we play. And this is the example what we do. It's not about should we do design thinking or Scrum or Kanban or Lean Startup or SAFe or Spotify or whatever. For me, the first question should be what are actually crucial competencies you should have as a team and as an art. That would look different in your case. That really depends on what is the product you're delivering. That might be applicable for everyone who is providing software as we do. But I discovered, or we as a team discovered 6 main competencies. 3 of them are in the discovery part and 3 of them in the delivery part. Main goal on the left side, learn as fast as possible, identifying problems and solutions customers really care about. On the left side, no line of code is written. We are just making sure that we understand the needs and that we come up with the best possible solution. And on the right side, bring value out of the door as fast as possible. I mean, you all know the DevOps term, that's going into it. And then what is important to me, of course, we know all these underlying principles, like the SAFe principles, the Agile manifesto, House of Lean, and all these things. These principles are important. I didn't bring them up here. But on top of that, I learned use the practice or method or approach which worked well in the past for a similar situation. Because in our case, and I think that's also for service products and hardware products, you're often coming into the same situation again. Like, we need to figure out what does the customer really mean with requesting that new functionality? What is behind it? Or how often do we actually come together as a team and do a retrospective? Is it weekly? Is it every 2 weeks? Are we following Scrum? Are we doing daily stand-ups? Daily stand-ups, we also do daily stand-ups. It's part of the execute competency, but you don't see Scrum or Kanban, or we do it now Lean Startup. Or what I also heard is we are now doing design thinking instead of Scrum. Don't do that. My learning is every of these different methods and frameworks, they do have a lot of valuable things in it, but experiment with that methods, with that approaches, and do kind of what we did, a map of proven practices you can grab and play whenever you need them. That's why we call it playbook. And it's not invented by us, to be honest. I also added the link. A company called Typeform were heavily inspired by this company. And I think that's a very nice learning. Do map out your playing field. What are the competencies along the way from customer insight to delivered product feature? And then figure out what practices actually work along that way. As a summary, I would mention 3 conclusions. For me, it's important to preserve a single source of truth. If you need to copy stuff over from your ALM tool like Jira or Azure DevOps to a physical board, and from that board to another physical board, and I see that also often using digital tools, people are copying around the same information, and you just build up inconsistency. So make sure that whatever tool you use, preserve single source of truth. The second one is enable role-based collaboration behavior. An RTE is behaving differently in a PI planning than someone from the management team or an engineer. Make sure that participants or your users of a tool, but also your different roles feel comfortable the way you agreed working together. That's important. And the last thing is follow your product development strategy based on true customer needs. Really, everyone in a team developing, whether it is developing a software or doing sales, talking with customers, building up your marketing strategy, everyone should really be able to, at least on a specific level, repeat customer needs and be aware of what our customers are, personas, for example, and what they tell us as a team. And that could also be an internal customer. Doesn't always need to be an external customer, can also be an internal customer. So make sure that you are following your development strategy and the strategy really follows your customer needs. And with that, I think I used my whole time box. I want to close. Thanks for having me in today. That was really a pleasure, and open for any question you have.
Hey, hi, this is Vikash. Thanks for this session. I just want to check if this tool can integrate with Jira Align as well.
Good question. It can integrate with Jira Align going via Jira. So in most cases, you will have Jira integrated with Jira Align. So that means whenever you sync a feature to Jira, it will also be synced to Jira Align. It's a bit different for dependencies. It's actually a customer request or a discussion we often have with customers regarding Jira Align. And I'm pretty confident that later this year, we will start thinking in more detail how to provide a direct integration to Jira Align. At the moment, you must go over Jira, which works for some of our customers already.
Thank you. That helps.
Silvio, thank you so much. First of all, accepting the invite and also preparing such a nice presentation. I think thanks for showing us how this tool works. I think this is one of the cool tools where the learning curve is actually zero. The way you have been working, I think somebody new to this tool doesn't really have to spend any time learning the tool. As you said, the focus should be on the discussions, on the conversations, rather than learning how the tool works.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And I particularly love, the RT hacks where you talked about the team agreements, so that, with simple things like, okay, what should be the color of the user stories? People should not be spending time on that. Okay, I think I particularly love that. And also the product development strategy that I think that was quite insightful. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
And please visit safethursday.com.
This is really a great tool to explore, and it was a great session, to be honest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Silvio. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
Silvio.
you.
Recording stopped. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.